Good afternoon, this is Bowdee. Today is January 3rd, 2018. I want to answer a question that I had for myself for many years. What is the difference between a builder, a carpenter, and a contractor? I, at different points in my life, have been all three now, so I feel like I have a little better grasp and an understanding to be able to answer this question, but I'll just come at it kind of relating stories of my life in different parts and be able to give you examples of what I'm talking about, hopefully. None of this is rehearsed, this is unscripted, so we'll just see what we get. So to me, I grew up doing carpentry work. My dad built pole barns, and he also built houses, and so I started working with him when I was 12 years old, and he had me pounding nails, and he would ask me when I was a little kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to pound nails and drive tractor just like you. And that was the first job that I had at 12 years old. He was building a brand new house, and he had already had the basement was poured and framed, and the first floor was framed in, and he was putting the subfloor down on the first floor. And back then there wasn't a whole lot of nail guns. Everything was nailed by hand. This was in the 80s. And so my job was to take a little 8-penny nail, and every 6 inches or so, 6-7 inches, I was supposed to drive one in. And it was pretty difficult since I'd never hammered before, and so I actually ended up using vice grips to hold the nail to get started, and I switched over to using a sledgehammer because I figured that's a bigger face, and that way I wouldn't hit my thumb so much. But anyway, I learned how to nail some nails, and eventually I moved on to pole barns, and the pole barns was the same problem. You'd have to pound a nail through steel, and it was really tough, and you'd have to really give it a good whack for it to go, but when you missed, man, it was hard on the thumbs. So I did even use the vice grips method later, and he let me learn on the back of the pole barn. We were building a pole barn that was right next to another building, and the buildings were sandwiched so close there was like a little storage alley between the two. Well, that's where he stuck me to learn how to pound nails, because he knew I was going to dent up the steel, and he knew that there's a learning curve to it. So consider this part of your learning curve. You are accelerating your knowledge by trying to seek out information from somebody that's been there before you. Now, at the level I am now as a master carpenter, I can do most anything that comes my way, and I get to be more selective and choosy in what I want to do. So a carpenter is somebody who builds the house. A builder is also somebody who builds the house, but they build it in a different way. They build it as a business. The carpenter gets hired by the builder to do the framing, say, or a trim carpenter will get hired by the builder to do the trim carpentry, to hang all the doors and to install the cabinets and to do the casing around the windows and the baseboard around the floor. These are things a trim carpenter would do, which I did trim carpentry, ran a trim carpentry business in Cincinnati for 7 years. And before that, I kind of struggled to figure out, what it is I want to do, and I knew I wanted to work with my hands and do the carpentry work, but I didn't really know what a contractor was and what a builder was. But a contractor and a builder are very similar because they both choose what job they want to do. A carpenter, he usually has a builder tell him what job he's going to do, or a carpenter gets hired by a homeowner if he's self-employed, but then he kind of becomes a contractor, because if you make a contract with a homeowner of I'm going to do X amount of dollars worth of work, this, and describe it all out, this is the work that I'm going to do, this is my terms, you sign it, date it. Once you start making contracts, in a sense, that is when you become a contractor. So it was a natural progression for me as a carpenter and wanting to be self-employed, I had to learn how to be a contractor. So I bought lots of books. I read lots of books, and I figured out how to write contracts. What's the wordage I need to use? What are the subjects it needs to cover? What's all the essential elements of a contract? And what are examples of what they look like? And well, some of the books even made it easy for you. It had a disc with the book, and then you could just throw the disc in the computer. Boom, you have all those forms already done, and you just got to put your business name in there. So going back to a builder, typically in my mind, a builder is somebody that does homes. That they may not ever lift a hammer or get out a tool belt. Most of them, I think they still end up doing part of the carpentry work because they are carpenters, and they're usually excellent carpenters because they've moved up to become a builder. And they may do some of the stuff on the job to save themselves money and get more money back in their pocket. They don't have to hire somebody else to do the stuff that they know how to do. But there are some builders that they don't do any of the on-site, moving tools and making cuts type work. They are more responsible for getting the materials to the job site. So in my mind, builders work with their wallet, and they use their bank account to do the heavy lifting for them. They have money saved up, and so they have that power that is stored up in the money, and they make that money work for them. So a builder will find somebody that needs a house built, and they know everybody that they need to in order to get that house built. They've built them before. They know the process. I stress that that's very important in my videos. I try to go over the process. I've learned how important the process is, and learning the process to get an overview to understand something before you just jump in and attempt to do it. Sometimes we learn the process while we're doing it, and that's fine too, but it's better to know the process ahead of time, if at all possible. So the builder will then take the homeowner's money, and he will order the materials from a supplier that he's worked with before, that he trusts, he has an account with. He knows that they can get him what he needs. He's already researched and found these suppliers, and he has connections made already, and he already knows the tradesmen. So builders will hire subcontractors. A carpenter can be a subcontractor if he chooses to be. He can work for builders. That's the route that I chose to go. I found that eliminated a lot of the hassle in running your own business, because all the advertising and trying to market and trying to get customers calling your phone and going and doing bids wasn't my favorite part of the job. I enjoyed being on the site and doing the work and being able to work with my hands and make awesome stuff. So a builder will, take the homeowner's money, call the building material supply house, order the materials, have them dropped off at the site. He probably won't even have to touch them. He might have to be there when they get delivered to tell them where to put it, but he could just tell the lead carpenter on site that information, and then he may not even be there. So he's doing a lot of work, but he's using his mind more than he's using his body. And I think that's why a lot of guys transition to becoming a builder later in life, because they have all this skill and experience stuck inside a body that's sometimes beaten up by working on the site for many years, and just the pitfalls that come with wearing out your body by being hard on it, because let's face it, construction is very hard work. So the builder will also call the subcontractors. He'll have a foundation concrete guy, he'll have an insulation crew, he'll have a carpenter, and the carpenter there could be split up. It could be a rough frame carpenter crew and a trim frame carpenter crew. A lot of times it isn't just one carpenter. There'll be a tile guy, there'll be an electrician, there'll be a plumber, there'll be an HVAC guy, there'll be roofers, and there'll be drywallers. The drywallers may be split up in between finishers that just put the mud on to finish the tape, the seams, and then the hangers. So there's a lot of contacts that you have to have So if a homeowner was to come to a carpenter and say, can you build me a house? The carpenter would say yes, but he's only talking about the framing. A builder can build the entire house for you. He has the knowledge, equipment, skills, and financial backing to get it done for you. So a contractor is very similar to a builder in my mind. And again, these are just my opinion. You're not going to find this in a dictionary. It's not going to fall under perfect definitions. It's going to is what it is. It's going to be what I say it is from my experience. So a contractor is very similar to a builder in that he is going to figure out how to help somebody. Either he's helping a homeowner who has a problem with their house and needs something done, or he's going to help a builder. Because you can, when you're doing subcontracting, it's still contracting. Subcontracting is a form of contracting. So as I was a carpenter wanting to sell my own work to other builders, I became a contractor. I was a contractor before that when I learned about contracts and what their use is and how to use them. And I believe contracts are a sound business practice. They're an excellent way to perform business so that you're clear about what everybody's doing going into this. They're clear, the customer's clear about how much they're going to pay. You're clear about what it is you're going to do and provide. It's all spelled out in writing. I've tried in the past to go without contracts on a few occasions, and sometimes not good things happen. So it's really, all the jobs that I've done that went awesome were jobs that I had a good contract and everything was spelled out ahead of time. That ties in with doing a plan, having a plan for your day. If you don't have a plan for your day, you can end up just being depressed and not feeling accomplished, and then eating crap food and then getting more depressed, and then start getting down on yourself and start looking not so great, and then next thing you know, you're not in good shape. You got to take care of yourself. You got to get in the shower. You got to do it every day, whether you want to or not. There's certain things that you got to do in order to be prepared and be ready, and making a plan is one of them. So I'm a big advocate for making a plan. This is something that I'm still relearning after some time of putting down planning and just trying to go with the flow. Well, if you just get carried down the river, it may not be someplace that you want to go. You might end up at the swamp. So a contractor can contract to homeowners, or a contractor can contract to other contractors. It's whatever you want to do, but as a subcontractor, don't get lazy about doing the contract. There's a lot of times where I was subcontracting and I didn't even do a contract because you just figure the builder, he knows what this business is all about. He's not going to screw me over. He needs a work done, and I have some skills to do that work, and I'll provide my skills in the best way that I can, and he'll be happy and he'll pay me and it'll all be good. It gets a little tougher when you're contracting for homeowners because sometimes you read people and you don't get a good vibe, or if you've done it enough, you see a certain type of contract or customer over and over again that you start to see traits that kind of send up red flags, and you think maybe I shouldn't do this job, but you do it anyway, and then stuff doesn't go great. Well, you should have trusted your gut. Your gut was trying to tell you that things weren't going to go right. Your subconscious is very powerful in picking up on all that stuff and knows in an instant. Just like when we look at a piece of art, it takes us 1 second to decide if we like that piece of art. We know instantly. And so I really encourage people to trust their gut. And if you're going to go into a job and you don't feel like the customer is a good fit for you, say no. That is the biggest thing I've learned over the years. I've got myself in trouble over and over again, but I actually learned it from a buddy from high school. He told me, he's been self-employed for over 20 years, and he said one of the best things and the hardest things that he learned was how to say no. If you can say no and just be done with it, don't do it rudely, but no hard feelings. It'll be no harm, no foul. They asked you if you could do this job. You really don't want to do it. Don't do it. Just be true to yourself. Be true to them. There's a lot of times we get hungry though, and we want to take that job. It might be doing siding or doing concrete or doing roofing and things that I know how to do, but maybe they're not my favorite. and sometimes we have to do them to put food on the table. That's fine, but just if it's a large dollar job, $10,000 deck, $20,000 finished basement, you really have to be able to have communication and have a solid relationship with these people. You don't want it to get tense. You don't want it to get awkward, and the best way to avoid that is just cover all your bases. Trust your gut. Have a solid contract. Be truthful and honest. Have integrity. Do your best work, and you can turn out awesome things. So I hope this little short podcast was helpful to you. If you like it, continue to watch more of my videos, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.